I would like to call to order the Public Works and Safety Committee meeting on September 21st, 2021 to order at 5:30. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Alderman Hamel.
Here.
Alderman Terrence.
Here.
Alderman Engelhardt.
Here.
Director Kreger.
Here. Statement of public notice.
Was posted in accordance with public meeting laws on September 17th.
Approval of minutes from August 17th, 2021.
Move to approve.
Second. All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Status of projects.
All right, we're going to start with the Great Water Alliance. Right now, the project in Muskego is focusing on North Cape Road. So what we have is Durham Road to Ryan Road is closed so that we have no through traffic along North Cape Road. So that was started at September 13th, and that is going to go on for about 50 days. There's a detour route in place. We have already provided some suggestions and adjustments to the Great Water Alliance team on adding a couple more signs and just being aware so that along the detour route so that they don't have some confusion with some that we found in the first 2 days with some drivers. The other issue that when this happens is we have more and more traffic in the local roads in some of the subdivisions. So the police are well aware of it. We've been working with them. We have also put out some temporary speed bumps to help control the speeding. We're just going to see an uptick in people driving in our local subdivisions. The police have also been notified that they can start ticketing any truck that is using local roads instead of using the required detour route. But that is the main focus, is North Cape Road right now is shut down to through traffic. Hillendale. All right, today was an exciting day. So Hillendale got the first layer of binder from Tans all the way to Racine. So the entire project has one coat of binder, 2 coats of binder from Tans to College. Tomorrow they'll be doing the second coat of binder from Tans all the way to Racine. On Thursday of this week, they'll be doing the asphalt driveways from Tans all the way to Racine. The restoration work, if you look at kind of near the north part of Racine, restoration work has started in the ditches, and they'll be back on Thursday to start going on the restoration work, and then that'll carry through all the way to next week. Then the plan is to do the surface, the entire surface of the entire Hillendale Road on Friday, October 1st and Saturday, October 2nd. Why those days is school is off. So that is the best day for us to kind of get that work done. So it's coming along. Today was nice. So there should be a smooth pavement ride for everyone today on that road.
Thank you. Any questions?
Comment. I just drove it a few minutes ago and it's looking good.
Next is updates from our chief.
I'll turn it on.
Mic on.
Sorry.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, better.
Hi, just a couple updates from us. Obviously, last week, Monday, Officer Hendrickson retired after 25 plus years of service to the Muskego Police Department, and 20 of which to the Muskego Norway School District. So that puts us at, instead of 39 sworn, we're currently at 37 sworn. I made a conditional offer today to an officer. I don't want to give the name just yet because it is a conditional offer, but he is currently an officer in the City of Racine Police Department. We have another background check out for another officer that we have the background meeting with that individual on Thursday, and the expectations are we'll be offering just to start with the urinalysis and those type of things, the drug thing, the screening prior to conditional offer on that, which would bring us to 39 sworn, is what we're authorized currently. The big thing I want to tell you guys, because I've been hearing it on multiple levels, and you're going to see I'm drafting a letter tomorrow for the newsletter. In case you're not aware of it, we have a problem with speeding in Muskego. Okay, and you guys are laughing. Of course, yes, it is a serious complaint and it is a serious thing. Here's what I will tell you with my data that I've been looking at for pretty much June, July, August specifically. We're operating at about a third of the number of traffic stops we were conducting 2 years ago. About 50% in June, 50% in May, and those type of things. So we're operating about half capacity in terms of number of traffic stops. Now you guys are probably also asking the obvious questions. Why? All right, we're going to focus on it. We've had approximately 1 per month of an overdose death, which leads to very intense investigations that we're dealing with in terms of those things. Our calls for service have changed over the course of several years now that we're dealing with, specific things. And you can think about the implementation of cell phones. Every case that has to do with cell phones requires a warrant or subpoena or any kind of information that we have to work through on that end. All of that information in terms of every house has video surveillance. Every business has video surveillance. And so it's requiring a lot more investigation as far as, I will say, the regular patrol officer to conduct an investigation on, let's just say, something as simple as a criminal damage to property or something along those lines. Now, what does that do? Well, my detectives have become inundated with things like fraud, identity theft, credit card issues, internet issues, harassment complaints. Those type of cases take an inordinate amount of time, and it's leading the fact that they're busy with those other cases. So now my officers aren't doing the job that they were supposed to be doing because they're getting tied up in other investigations. That's part of it. The other part of it is leadership. We're going to have a renewed emphasis on traffic enforcement here in the near future. And I'm going to highlight some of the things that I want to do in 2022 as far as what the data is telling me and where we're spending our time in order to cover, just covering things like COVID. And you've seen all the COVID letters that have come out of the police department. Well, that's a 10-day break, and then I have to cover it with overtime. My overtime, I'm going to break a record this year for the amount of overtime paid out. And you guys are going to see that kind of stuff. Ultimately, with the police department, overtime, some of it is inevitable based upon court times, contract costs, all those kind of things. But it's a matter of finding the Goldilocks era in terms of like how much is too much and how much is enough. So I'm going to be requesting some staffing. And that was part of the staffing stuff that I looked at with Mayor Petfalski. I made a presentation on how to increase officers per shift because we're below, and officers per capita of things like Brookfield, Franklin, New Berlin. We're well below officers per thousand is usually what you utilize to take a look at where we're going to go. Now, I also know this is Muskego. And Scott told me, and before you start asking for things, you got to look internally to try to figure some things out. You guys know that one of my captains retired. I'm not replacing that position. I'm moving it different in my organization. I'm creating an investigator position, which is a little bit further down the food chain, if you will, so that I can increase my detective bureau. If you think of the police department, I think of it as like 4 arms. First shift, second shift, third shift, and my detective bureau. My detective bureau is supposed to take all those sensitive crimes, all those lengthy investigations, and they're supposed to be taking it off of the plates of the officers so that we can meet officer requirements on, what are we doing? So we can conduct traffic enforcement, so we can deal with what we're trying to get to. A lot of you might not be aware of this, but we're divided in Muskego in 3 separate patrol areas because generally speaking, on the weekends in our 36 square miles, I have a supervisor and 3 officers working. And so a patrol area is east of Landon, 2124, north of McShane. Okay, so if you think about all of that geographic area, that's one patrol area. And then they're responsible for not only patrol, but all calls for service that occur in that area. So it's difficult in order to manage calls for service and then also get in those subdivisions, get some things done, and all those type of things. Why I'm transitioning, I'm moving administrative data or administrative tasks down the chain of command in order to try to better staff the city on the road. And by doing that, moving a person into the detective bureau so that I can alleviate and take some more of those investigations off the officer's hands, because I need to get back to the basics in conducting traffic enforcement on many of my speed thoroughfares that you've heard about and I hear about probably daily in terms of subdivisions. Woods Road, McShane, Quietwood, Martin, Racine, I'm aware of it. But I can't do it by myself, and you guys know I can't put a car at every single spot that I have problems. So it's a collaborative effort. I am putting this out in the newsletter that I'll be posting tomorrow. I'm sharing it with my staff as well as like, okay, here's my focus. Here's where I want to go. Here are some things that we need to accomplish. And to get at least the numbers back up to, I throw 2020 out because that's just kind of an outlier in terms of where my numbers are. But 2019, we're operating at about 50% of the number of traffic stops that we were at 2 years ago. And there's also a Goldilocks era when it comes to traffic enforcement too, because we also don't want to go to the other side of the coin where it's like you can't drive without getting pulled over anywhere in the city of Muskego. But right now, that's not my problem. My problem is I need my officers to be doing more enforcement, because I see it. I drive around. My children go to school in the school district, and we've had several, near close calls with this couple of things. And ultimately, that's where I'm going to be asking for your support here in the future and trying to make sure that we can have responsible growth, because as you know, every time I turn around, it's Scott's fault of like he's throwing in more subdivisions all over the place. And growth is good, but we need to balance that growth collectively on making sure that we cover our enforcement angles too on those type of things. I know I gave you a long-winded answer, but I really want you to hear it from me. We are down. I want to give you some of the reasons, and I also know it's Muskego. You don't want to hear a whole lot of excuses. You want to talk about, well, how are we going to fix that? And I'm going to focus on 3 areas. 1, I'm going to ask for increased staffing. 2, I'm going to have a renewed sense of leadership in terms of like emphasis on those things and a command influence. And 3, me reorganizing my own command structure to try to get more bodies in the right positions in order to make sure that we get this taken care of. And oh, by the way, by doing that reorganization, I saved the city some money. So of course I'm going to bring that up later. You guys have any questions?
Just a comment.
Yes.
And more looking to the next meetings, but I would love to see that population growth alongside of those hours you're talking about. When you said, hey, we had 5 years ago, we had more time to do it. Now we have 3,000 more homes, 6,000 more homes, the same number of officers. I think that would help everybody to understand that need for extra staffing. So.
Absolutely. In addition, I forgot one other thing. I'm going to work with Mayor Petfalski. The other one that you're going to hear about, John, is our lack of boat patrol this summer. Based upon staffing stuff, we were well behind where we needed to be on boat patrol. Because I will tell you, part of it is priority went to others' calls for service. And if you think about all the different, I think I broke a record for me as being chief, and then all of these SWAT calls in the city and, people smashing my cars and stuff in the last 6 months has been kind of a crazy little uptick of things. But boat patrol has been on the back burner. And I want to get away from the phrase boat patrol, and because this is a lake community. It should be just patrol, and it's part of what we do. And Mayor Petfalski and I have a plan of like, well, let's think about different ways to do that with maybe perhaps a part-time employee in the summer to kind of augment where we're going. And that serves 2 purposes. Usually it's a sworn officer that's either A, starting out, and so it's somebody that we can vet through our system, or B, it's also somebody that maybe that works for a different community and I can get them out here at a reduced rate. And ultimately on the lakes a little bit more consistently than we have been. So those are some of the complaints that I'm sure you have heard. You guys are laughing because yes, you've heard them. But I'm aware of it, and I want to be focused on what's the solution and how can we get there. Thank you for your comments, and I will have population growth and all the stuff that Scott keeps doing to me.
And it's unbelievable how much other things, take up your time that didn't occur last year, especially with cell phones. I'm sure there's a lot of people that pocket dial 911. And I think you guys probably investigate everyone pretty much that comes in, even though it's a pocket dial, because you don't know what actually is happening on the other side, and all those take time away from what you were able to do years ago before the advent of all the technology and everything.
You are absolutely correct. 911 missed dials are difficult, but it's also because it's especially all you got to do is hit the one button or even click it funny on your cell phone. It ends up in your pocket, and we respond to those just to try to figure out, or even in today's, a vast quantity of people here in the city of Muskego have alarm permits. We're still responding to every time somebody doesn't enter in their code correctly, enters the door, the wind blows, one of those things. We're still responding to all those calls for service as well.
Anything else?
No.
Alderman Engelhardt?
Are you gauging according to our past histories only, or are you gauging according to what you know of nearby municipalities and what's going on with them as to how effective you're being right now? And your overall picture of our crime rates or our traffic stops and so forth, are you in a place of comparing in that way to know whether we're gaining, losing, or otherwise?
You're going to see it in my operational rollout in terms of where we stand collectively, because it's all about comparison. And
comparison isn't everything, but sometimes it leads us to a good view of things.
Like Alderman Terrence said, I want to give you at least comparison data to look at and to see, okay, where are we when it comes to certain things, officers per capita, crime, those type of things, calls for service.
Okay.
Anything else? Well, I want to thank you for everything that you've done, and we appreciate it. I think I can speak for everyone up here and the community as a whole, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Unfinished business, discussion, update, and possible action may be taken on any of the following. Request for no parking signs, Parkland Avenue.
Okay, so this is one that's been deferred a couple times. Before we start, I got a couple photos to pass out.
There you go. This has been floating out there for like a while. I had to go back into old emails. I'm like, when did we first do this?
I do have extra copies here if anyone else needs a photo. So again, this has been no parking request. Wendy, could you roll it back down, please? Yeah, thanks. So a request has been made. It was a resident through Alderperson Terrence to look at installing no parking signs along one side of Parkland Drive. Again, as we do this, we only got the request that parking on one side of the road be no parking. The rest has to be open. Currently, there is no parking restrictions on Parkland Drive. The request was for Parkland Drive north of Janesville Road. Again, I attached a map, so if we could now move up one knee to the map, thank you. Couple things I just wanted to kind of talk to you about this is we did a little research. One, the person who owns where the building in the United States Post Office is, has made it clear to the city of Muskego that only allowing workers and customers park on his property. At one point, he had people in the back there who maybe were living at Freedom Square condos or visiting them, or other people that were trying to park there. So that's just one thing too, as well as the fact that Freedom Square condos, when it was built, it was not built with a current parking standard. So kind of like the residents to guests to Freedom Square parking along, they park along Briargate Lane and Parkland Drive, just to let you know. It's not some of the common standard stuff that we see today when we go through like a plan commission. The other thing too, and I'll show a picture, this is kind of like the photo. Again, all you have it, I have extra copies. But basically what you're seeing is as you drive north along Parkland Drive, north of Janesville Road, as you get past kind of the tennis court area and you're getting closer to the Freedom Square condos around that bend, right to Briargate, you have people that park on both sides of the roads. And that is common. It doesn't occur all the time. It shows, as you can see, two cars, one side and one on the other. The road's kind of narrow. They park on the shoulder a little bit. But again, it would be very difficult for two cars to get through at the same time. So that was just kind of the photo that was passed on. So again, with always new parking, I kind of leave it up to you guys to do it. You know, kind of the request is always do it on one side of the road, not the other side. The other big thing too is remember it affects everyone. You know, it affects their parties, graduation parties. It kind of everyone along the way. So, but it's something for you guys to have a good discussion about and then kind of make that decision. Whatever was made, or remember, if you decide to do it, I always have to take it to Common Council, and it's always got to be approved by everyone at Common Council, because then it becomes a resolution. Then we can put up no parking signs, and then the police can write a ticket. So that's kind of how the process works. So I'm kind of just opening up the floor for you guys to have a discussion about it.
And this is just for along Parkland, correct?
Correct. And maybe Alderman Terrence, you kind of came from me. If you have a specific area, it would be kind of nice to kind of where you were aside. You've talked to a couple residents.
Yeah, and so before I was on council, this was something that we had, but I was one that wouldn't call. I was like, whatever, somebody else can call about it. Back when we used to do jamming on Janesville 4 times a year, 3 times, whatever it was, there was a couple times where it was both sides all the way, and traffic basically got stuck because you can't pass. The picture, it's a little wider. It does narrow as you go. So when I came on council, I was waiting. I didn't want it to just be me. Like, hey, I've got an issue. So I've had a few calls on it. One lady actually took this picture from her vehicle and kind of wrote up a nice letter and all that stuff. So I felt like I had enough people chime in to say, hey, this is probably something we need to look at. Part of the issue, if you look in that picture, is this is a pretty blind curve when you're kind of making that coming from either direction. So you can't see traffic much past where kind of this is beneficial because it's fall, I guess. I don't know when this picture was taken. But if you're coming from the south side, those cars that come off of Janesville, they do speed a little bit, as we talked about, because you're coming off of a 35. So they're approaching that a little quick. If there's cars on both sides and you don't approach it and stop, and somebody's coming from the other direction, you could end up with 2 cars trying to pass an area that's only 1 wide. Everything I've seen along that stretch, right around where the post office is, it's actually lined, so you can't park on there anyway, from the front entrance of the post office. And it really only starts after actually right where this picture is, the end of the parking lot for where the tennis courts are. And then when you get into where the parking lot is for the apartments through the homes. And it's only ever an issue if there are cars on both sides. One side is fine, then you can get 2 cars through. Sort of my recommendation would be you go from just that section north of the parking lot to the edge on Briargate. And it would be on the housing side where the homes are. So the apartments can still park on their side. The homeowners could park on the other side as well if there's an event. It still gives you that side where you can put cars along. We've never really gone through and had 15 or 20. The problem is you get 6 of them and you get 3 on one side, 3 on the other because nobody wants to go 5 feet up the road. I didn't look into if there were incidents, traffic, like if you ever had an accident in there. The neighbors might know a little more, but it certainly is something that I have 2 teenage drivers that I've taught to drive, and we've had a couple of almost through there as they're learning, where we had to stop, slam on the brakes because there's a car coming the other way. So I think that would be a pretty simple, just kind of a safety fix that really wouldn't have a drastic impact on the neighbors that are there, because again, you still have parking on the other side. So that's kind of the background in the story.
So, as you know, I'm not a fan of signs because they affect everyone. Did you talk to the homeowners on that east side of the street?
No, I haven't talked to the 2 people that live there. I haven't chatted with them. If you were to put and that's the side of you let them park in front of their own. As far as I know, they're not the ones that, this person that took the picture and the other person that talked to me, I don't know if those are their homes. I didn't specifically say, is that you? So no. But again, the issue isn't so much, I know we had problems. We've looked at parking on back by the restaurant, back on the sort of that dead end. We had a discussion about things coming and going. I think this is less of an issue of the individual people complaining about parking being in front of their house and more of the number of vehicles that pass through there, and the concerns of safety on that passageway. Everybody that lives north and east, that's a surprising amount of traffic comes through there as people pass through.
That's part of Parkland has turned into a main street, almost going to Briargate to get over to Landon instead of Janesville to
Yep.
Landon.
You know, if it,
You see the higher amount of cars on there.
if it, and this is the other side, I don't know, it's a subdivision. If it was lined and people parked more in the grass outside the lines, you wouldn't have a problem. But the problem is, if you look on there, the left side, they're literally in the street. That car on the right's 50-50. I'm not saying they have to park in the grass, but if they literally went off the road, then you'd have the width. Yeah, so it's less of a concern of, hey, we got too many cars there, and more of it just becomes I haven't seen a head-on yet, but at some point we may end up with one.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, just for food for thought here a little bit, possibility of, is there better hours? So we would put, if we did post signs, it would be for certain hours?
I mean, it's residential, so it's not like we looked at when we had a business where, hey, they're open 9 to 5, so let's limit it and allow people to park there. It is more likely to be in the evening when people are home. Overnight, I mean, are we technically not allowed to park there overnight? Generally in the mornings when my wife and I walk, there's multiple cars there every morning.
Okay.
So, you know,
So it's not
from
particularly,
yeah, I mean, because it's residential and it's people in the apartment, it's going to revolve around their work schedules. I don't know if a time is going to help as much.
you wouldn't say it's a rush hour problem or something like that?
No, I mean, not specifically. It seems to be more when mornings and evenings, post work time and weekends as well, because you've got more cars out there. And it's odd because it's different cars. It's apartments, so it
Now,
probably is.
This
odd.
is a 25-mile-an-hour street, right?
Supposed to be, yes.
And do we have history of accidents as a result of what we're talking about?
Yeah, that was one that I didn't, that we don't have on, and I'm sure the chief can't pull it out of his ear on that.
All right, and then it would seem to me, just looking at this, that if we did post a no parking, the inside of the radius would be the side that should be the no parking for visibility's sake.
Yes, and that would make sense from the standpoint of the homes. I would imagine if we're going to tell people not to park, the residents would probably appreciate it if all the cars didn't park in front of their house. So we would be giving the apartment complex, you'd have that strip, just don't park on the other side of the street.
Yeah, because if the cars are parked on the inside of the radius, that's going to block
Correct.
the view for people coming down the street, so.
And these cars are a little further south. When you get further north, the road narrows more and it's even harder to see. So this is just one
And
example.
this would only go as far as Briargate?
Yep,
That's
and then you'd be
proposed.
fine. Yep.
You would start at the tennis courts or just after the?
Yep, just after the tennis courts, probably right across from the, and there's even, as you get a little closer, you actually can't, because if you see the rock, there's a kind of a drainage ditch. So literally you couldn't park there, you'd be in the middle of the road. So probably right where you see that car would be the first sign that would make sense.
Yeah, I think it's probably by that, well, maybe the fence is a little bit further in, but I think that's that first lot past the tennis court.
Yep, that is correct. Because then right to the east of this, where this car is, you've got that drainage ditch and cattails and all that. And there's no place to park. And if somebody was there, they would get creamed because people come from that intersection.
I would make a motion.
To approve?
Motion to approve for the distance from the tennis court to Briargate on the inside radius side.
I'll second. I can do that, right? I mean, it's my area, but.
That's fine. All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. New business. Boomer's right-of-way waiver request.
Okay, Wendy's gonna kind of move that down to the memo and then so this is, Matt is here, this is Matt Helmer and his wife. So back in the day, there was a development, at the end of Crystal Drive off of Muskego Dam Road around, I believe it's called Crystal Lake. It was done back a while ago. Nothing happened. It carried the development pretty far, and then nothing happened, so the land just sat there. At the end of the drive of Crystal Drive, at the end of it, there's a temporary kind of cul-de-sac. Well, Mr. Hilmer and his wife have been looking for property and large pieces of property. And what they have worked with is they have worked with a landowner, and they have requested, and have an opportunity to purchase a lot that is about 6.8 acres. And if you go to the next drawing one, need to kind of give you an idea, that would be lot 1. Okay, so what they're requesting is they have to dedicate some part of right of way. And in the area in the pink, it's just a concept plan. They have to dedicate about 87 feet in front of their house to have dedication for right of way. Now, per our code, you have to improve that part of right of way. So that would mean they would need a curb and gutter, asphalt, whole shebang, and about 87 feet. That's going to be a couple $100,000. So what they're requesting, and they've met with Adam and I about this, is that they're no problems dedicating the right away, and that they want to just delay the cost of that until when the development is done, and then they would pay their fair share of that 87 feet. It's called economies of scale. If they're doing the whole road, it would make only more sense to be effective for them on an economic standpoint of doing it. They would take there's a temporary cul-de-sac. They would just do their driveway off that temporary cul-de-sac, and that we would put on the CSM, and we'd also have an agreement with them that they would pay their fair share for this road when it gets improved. So just to let everyone know, we're just delaying it, but it would be either them or whoever owns it would pay that fair share when the full development happens. All right. This still has to go through Plan Commission, like all CSMs, and through Common Council as well. Matt and his wife, they wrote a letter just to kind of let you know and to plead their case. Matt's willing to kind of talk about it or any questions about it. Adam and I are very comfortable with this. It allows for him and his family to purchase this, but at the same time too, knowing that they will pay for this improvement as this full development does happen. So
this would be recorded?
Full recorded on, it's a full recorded on the CSM. We put language, and we do an agreement, especially with him, and we would get that recorded as well. So, and remember, this is just us giving him permission so that he can take it to Plan Commission and for Common Council for approval. But this is the first step that he needs to do. So, Matt, if there's anything else, you guys, this is Matt. He wrote that letter and everything.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
There was a lot of words, and I want to make sure I understand what I'm looking at. So basically, this property here, in this little like purple section, is a future developed gutter?
Road. Curb and gutter.
Okay.
Yep.
But none of it's done yet.
None of it's done, but he has to officially dedicate.
Got it.
He's got to dedicate 87 feet so that he can build a lot. So that
basically, we don't expect him to put a little chunk of gutter in or until everything else is done.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then he would pay for that portion.
The 10% of the road or whatever it was.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And
that's what I thought you said.
To kind of understand, if you look the original plan, if you look at the original, and you see that kind of like dedicated thing, this is what was given at one time. It kind of goes around the lot. It technically gets close. I don't know if it connects back to Racine or not. The plans were pretty old back today. It was I believe it was a Bill Carity development. But at some point, these would all be developed around there. I think there was 6 to 8 lots in there.
And do we have a timeline on those or no?
We don't know. It all fell through.
Okay.
So we know, but why we're trying to do this is we know something will happen.
Yeah.
Eventually, land is becoming shorter and shorter. Someone's going to, at one point, the person who owns the land, maybe, everything happens where people pass away, the land goes to the kids. Sometime if he wasn't going to develop it now, someone might develop it. So we are planning to make sure that we're all taken care of when this does happen, that the Hilmers know that they have to pay for their fair share for this development. but this also allows them to move forward with the lot and at the same time not be dinged right away to put 87 feet worth of curb and gutter and a road in. So.
I think it's logical. I think it would be odd to put a section in and have it only be one section. So I'd make a motion to approve. I don't even need to hear, I mean, I don't need to hear from them. I don't.
Yeah, I guess my biggest concern was this is down the road, if it doesn't happen for 10, 20, 30 years, and there's several other property owners down the road that they know about this.
They would know, again, we don't have, this is the first property owner of it. As the next one comes, we're going to have to approach that subject as well as going through it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's just what I wanted to
So,
clarify, yeah.
So saying, is he in a position or has ownership in a position to subdivide off a single lot and develop one more lot? Or does it all have to be a future development with the whole street plan there?
well, he's only doing the one lot. The CSM is just that one lot. If he would have to come back and subdivide it again and stuff like that, then all you guys have to go see another CSM and we all would have to go through the whole process again. All he's asking for is the CSM is lot one. That's it. Not if he would have to subdivide again, that starts the process again. He would probably come to us. They don't have any intentions of doing this. This is for a single family home, but they can't do that without going through us, Plan Commission, and Common Council again for all you guys. So
So if there was any future subdivisions, it goes to planning first?
they would work with Plan Commission and us.
Okay.
Yep.
This does leave him, if I'm understanding right, leaves him in a position of kind of open-ended. So if it's put off for 10 years and prices are whatever they are, then that's what he faces.
That's what he faces.
Yep.
That's what we're saying.
Correct.
Did you want to say something, Kevin? Or no?
I'm the owner for the area, that's the only reason I'm up here. It's a temporary bulb where his property is located, just to the west of his property. When and if that subdivision does occur, they're going to destroy that street anyway.
Yeah.
So it'd be
Right.
foolish to put something in now that is going to be jeopardized in the future. So as the alderman in the area, I certainly.
Where's the street now?
Where's the street?
The street exists.
It just ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right here's the cul-de-sac.
Yeah. And it's temporary. It's very
It's
temporary.
very temporary. It's very, very temporary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just down there where we had the end that never got completed?
Right. Right. The road curves up from the base of that map. The road curves up and ends up in a temporary bulb where this property is located.
Yeah.
It's off of Muskego Dam Road and it's
Yeah.
called Crystal
Yeah.
Drive.
Crystal Lake
This
Drive.
is the one
Like,
where
yep.
Yeah.
2 or 3, 4 years back, we had a dedication that for roads, landscaping and so forth, that got,
Yeah, the developer who developed that.
the money fell short for, so
the
it's
money-
undeveloped in
yeah.
that way, yeah.
Right. And they put in
That's the
some
same area.
trees with the
Yeah.
remaining funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks. I believe there's a
Okay,
motion. Oh, okay,
all right, I'll give it a second then, yeah.
right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. There you go.
Next one, discussion of extending the Martin Trail from Landon Drive to Oak Hill Drive. Terrence brought this up. Kirtland Crossing, we've all been hearing about Kirtland Crossing. Some residents talked about some safety concerns, additional traffic along Martin Trail. So what the Alderman Terrence asked me to do is do some research on it. So what I did was I kind of went through and I found out and I kind of connected everything and provided all the things that in 2006, the city of Muskego put together an RFP for preliminary design and costs for recreational trail along Martin Drive. The Public Works Committee decided to not move forward with the RFP in June of 2016. I have attached the concept plan, the RFP, and then the project just died. It just stopped. Since that time, and this was 2016. In 2018, we installed a portion of the Martin Trail from Janesville just to kind of where the connection is by the church there. I highlighted it in pink area. That was done by Dan in-house, and he provided all the construction inspection. The yellow would be what would be left of the trail that needs to be kind of designed and built. So one of the couple things is we usually try to look at trails when we start doing reconstruction project. Martin Road's in pretty good shape. This would be a standalone project. So the best thing for, if you guys want to move forward, is to do a separate capital project for this. What my suggestion is, you would tell me, hey, I would like to put this on capital. My capital for 2023, I have a portion in parks where I haven't done a trail in a while, and I would put a trail in there from here to here. And I would probably base it off on how much the design cost is, and then probably get a rough cost for construction. Usually when we do the RFP, and I put that example in there, I kind of take the same RFP, just update it with everything going on. We first start with like a 30% plan, and with that would give us a cost estimate. So the location would be along Martin. It would be along the north side of the road there. That was where it would tie in with Landon, which up there, and it would tie in with the existing Martin Trail now. So trails, and I'll give you my thoughts on trails because we've had a lot of discussions about this. So one, in the past, we have not done one really since 2018. The last couple we did was the little portion of Martin, and then the little portion of Racine from Woods Road just to the north part of the subdivision, just to the south of the high school, to kind of give you a cost of some things. That little portion along Racine back in 2018 was about $250,000. When I had the cost for Landon Road between Janesville and up to Martin, and that cost was 30% plans, was about $500,000. These are by itself. Recently, we did Bay Lane Road about a couple years ago. That had a trail on it. That went with the reconstruction of the project, would fit in. We had one with Hillendale, and even though that's part of the reconstruction project, the residents came, and they came very strongly against the trail. You have both people passionate for trails, and you have people against trails pretty hard. What has been kind of the theme is, if we have a lot of roads that are being done, our focus has been recently more on repairing roads than actually doing trails, which is why we haven't done one in a while, just to kind of give you an idea on why we haven't done one since 2018. To do trails, it's almost like the same amount of work that you have to do with a road, except for it's less asphalt, which means, and less kind of like using a big paving machine, so there's more tedious work, more time and material, which is why when you sit there by themselves, holy cow, that's a lot of money for a trail. And that's the reason why. Again, mostly when we put trails, we put them in for safety, and we also put them to connect. We've always had a robust trail system, but those are some of the reasons why we haven't done one in recent times. I hope I gave you a pretty good background, RFP, and in the history of it. I think from my understanding, talking to Adam too, the trail was kind of moving forward, and there was a couple residents. They did a survey that they were going to do it, and a couple residents on the north side there were pretty strong against it. One of the big things that happens with trails is to take trees down, and trees that are in the right of way, and that usually is not well received by residents as well. So those are some of the basic stuff and just recently we've seen it on all sides of for and against trails. So I gave you all the history. If you would like to move forward, the best thing for me to do is just tell me, and I can put it on capital for 2023. Again, that capital goes to all the common council, and you guys vote all for it. So that's probably the best way to, for me, if you want me to put it on there to move forward. So
I'll speak because I was sort of the one that went for this. I mean, the good part is if we come back with a giant number, then we sort of show it to the people that had mentioned wanting it, and we don't do it. This came out of the discussions, again, on that development. We're planning to add, that's still not happening yet, but was it 110 in that? 108. So you're talking about, 3 people per home, about another 330 people or so. The common theme I heard from those that were for it and against it, both sides, were some concerns on traffic, and then the other one was safety and some sort of ability to provide more of a path for those that you're going to be adding homes. It's interesting that you had mentioned the connecting part. I feel like that section up there is a little bit disconnected from the south. The idea, Landon's come up as well. Not that we're going to do both, but the idea that somehow you get all of the paths that we have down in Janesville kind of connected to our downtown area, to get that connection to that section now that we're adding those homes. And so that's where this comes from. I know we're going to get flack from people when you take, and I get it. Generally, the people that are against it, it's their front yard. Those are kind of the two things that I had thought of when this came forth. And there are a few people that will probably be here when assuming we put the quote out there. I told them, again, showing up to this discussion, we're not making a decision on spending any money. We're just going to say, sure, what does it cost? I don't see much on our end. I mean, from a planning perspective, what kind of hour investment from your team does it take to get a proposal? Like how much, hey, if we say, hey, go do it, are we talking a lot of work from your department? Again, this is me just quantifying what is our cost to actually go get
putting
an
the
RFP.
proposal together that's easy. It's like, but you still have to pay a consultant to do it. So I take those always the capital so that everyone knows I'm not just going to go spend, anywhere between $15,000 to $30,000 to get a design cost. Because what that would be you would look at a 30% design and a cost estimate. And 30% design is like usually when you do roads or trails, it's 30, 60, 90, 100. It's a first phase. It's a rough side. We kind of know where things are, but that could cost anywhere between, $15,000 to $30,000 for that design cost. And then they would base off that a rough estimate. Now, when I say rough estimate, 30% plans are very rough. So you're talking a pretty high cost. That's why when we did Landon Road, it was $500,000 for a rough estimate, but there's some big trees, looking at utilities, in some areas where you have ditches along the way. Well, if you put a trail there, you have to enclose those ditches to move the stormwater, or sometimes you might have to put curb and gutter in some areas and storm sewer. These are things that kind of start leading the cost of things to get a little higher. We won't know until you do design. Putting an RFP out, that's nothing. It's finding the money to make sure that you pay a consultant and do it. We don't have the time or the staff to do it in-house. But like I said, you already got an RFP already started. That's kind of easy to do. It's just, I make you guys all aware, council, of the cost of things before I put things out. And that's why, this would be a truly capital project. I'm just letting you know, it would go and you would have, in the park thing, you would have the 5-year park thing. I would have probably for 2023, probably like a $30,000 estimate for, hey, this one should be for the design cost. And then I would do maybe 2 years out, like $500,000, so that once I have then the cost back, the 30%, then I refine how much the next design cost is. And then sometimes it'll die or sometimes it'll move forward. But those are kind of like how I would approach it.
I'm just going to throw a curveball here. When you did the look on Landon,
Yep.
how long ago was that?
I think that was maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
It was a while. It was maybe 2019, it sounds like.
Because I think either one of these paths hypothetically solve kind of that same, it provides that connecting point. I would say they're sort of interchangeable. I don't think you would get backlash any more or less one or the other. If we found one was significantly cheaper and fit in with a plan, it could be something that we talk about. I don't think, is Landon any better or worse than Martin as far as condition goes? Again, off the top of your head.
Again, it's kind of hard to tell.
Okay.
If you look at our parks and open space plan, we have a pretty good trail planning. If you look at it, we do a pretty good job afar out of connecting everything. The biggest thing that we haven't done in a while is we haven't done a trail. That's where it is. So the idea of like what you're saying to Martin and Landon, the idea of there's no argument there. It's already in the plan. It's already doing it. It's just whether or not, do you want an RFP to finish this Martin one out? Like I said, I already got an RFP done with Landon. I didn't put it out myself. It was done by my predecessor here. I just remember getting the cost in, and then it kind of stopped because it was like almost $500,000 for a 30% plan. it's more of like, if you're focusing on Martin and that was the thing that it is, I would make the suggestion to the committee to ask me to put it on capital, and
Okay.
I'm trying to tell you that would be the best way to go. You don't need to argue whether or not it's on the idea of it's connecting, because you know what, it's already there. That kind of parks and open space plan already was created. There's trails and the whole game plan for way out. I would say both of them are on there. I'm with 100%, both of them are on there. It's just paying for them is where it comes down to. There's no need to do a study. It's more of like whether or not you want to do an RFP, get a cost, and then move forward.
Yeah, I think for me, the increase in the size of the development is kind of what potentially is pushing this a little forward. That's all I got.
I don't see any problem with put it on capital budget and discussing it as a whole. That's probably the best thing to do. I do think roads are probably more important than putting a new trail in, but that's a discussion we can, I think, have when brought together and can discuss it.
But I hear the police department is saving a bunch of money, so maybe we can just. I get it.
So, and that's, I mean, just make a recommendation, but just to kind of give you an idea, I would put it on for the 2023 capital. So again, you would probably start seeing this stuff, and then we go in August, and I'll put two numbers on there. I'll put a number for design, and I'll put also a number for where it's a rough estimate of based off of like finding some other things and what I think I can find. Couple trails, talk to a couple communities. I can map out what the cost is per like linear feet of trail, measure out the distance, and kind of give you a rough cost. I mean, again, real rough, but I would have two numbers on there. We have a line item in the parks one. That's always the first one we do in capital, just for everyone to remember. And it can be discussion with everyone on the committee. So
We have existing trail from Landon past Marlin Meadows, right?
Yep, it goes pretty far. I drove it with Ryan.
Does that go to Hartee or where's it?
Yeah, but now there's one other thing too, just to let you know, if you look at it, right around there too, it kind of juts back, goes across the north side of the road, goes through the Park Arthur and comes back. There's about 3 homes right there. My recommendation as a safety engineer talking with Ryan is if you would do this little portion right here, you would take that trail 3 houses along the south side of the road there, right to Hartee, instead of trying to jig-jag back and forth, just to kind of let you know. It makes more sense for instead of the last 3 houses, because what happened is you're walking along and then like, I want to go to ILL. Okay, I cross the road, go over to Park Arthur, take the trail, and then I hop back across and then go to ILL. If you take a look at it, that would be probably my recommendation. Besides this one, figure out there, I think it's like 2 or 3 homes there. Drive it, but you'll see what I mean. It kind of doesn't make logical sense. So,
Do we have trail on Janesville all the way to where Martin intersects Janesville or not?
Yeah.
yep.
We do currently, don't we? Yeah, okay.
I walk it every day.
That all goes all the way down.
Yeah, so it definitely is helping us make a more complete system there.
Yep. It would make a loop. So.
I would make a motion that we do capital, whatever was said. That we put out the RFP for a capital project.
Is there a second? I'll second it.
You could second this one. All right.
Whatever.
All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. The last one. So it was brought to our attention on Ryan Drive. We have Fairway Lane. We have Old Course Way. And the last one is Brookfield Court. I don't know why, but there's not stop signs at those 3 intersections. That is kind of a thing that maybe I'm guessing might have happened is back in 2008, a couple of these places were started. The developer stopped, and we never moved forward with getting the stop signs up there at those 3 places. So based off a request by Alderman Madden, and I would definitely recommend this, and I know that the chief is as well, putting stop signs there. We can't just have people rolling right out onto Ryan Drive. Almost all those like little subdivision areas, this is an old Google map, they're all being filled up. There's, I think, only one more lot left that's empty in all three of them. So it only makes, it only makes sense, guys. It just probably, from my understanding, it probably just was stopped and we never enforced it with the developer in the end. And now we just found that they're not there and we need them there for sure, especially with Muskego Lakes Estates, and you're seeing more development that it's happening along Ryan Drive. So
I'll make a motion to put those stop signs in.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. New business placed on file, doesn't look like we have any. Any communications and miscellaneous business authored by law? None. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.